Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday and happy first weekend of February. I'm your digital host, Tatyana White, and welcome back to another episode of the 48 Recap, which is just the one-stop shop to catch up on some of the top news stories of the week, including the latest on today's show host Savannah Guthrie's mom, who has been missing for a week, the passing of Huntsville blues legend Microwave Dave. A car crashed into a home in Ardmore earlier this week, causing a woman to get stuck. The latest on a former Decatur police officer's murder trial getting delayed again. The latest on an Alabama gambling bill. Sand Mountain Sam's spring prediction. A look into a Huntsville woman inspired by Muhammad Ali. And now she has broken barriers, being a boxing manager, weekend events, and much more. And so I hope you all are having a great weekend so far. I'm glad it's finally warming up a little bit. Like, I was just not doing well in that super cold, frigid weather. So I'm so glad that it's finally warming up a little bit. And I hope you all are continuing to stay safe and warm and that you're doing well. And I hope you all are getting excited, getting your fixings and foods and everything together for Super Bowl Sunday. I know that's one of my favorite parts. Me and my family, we'd always have wings and different types of buffalo chicken dip and all that different stuff. So I hope you all are getting excited, getting your food together and, figuring out whose house you're hosting it at or if you're going out somewhere, and also enjoying the Winter Olympics as well. And let's get into this weekend's recap. So, one of our top stories this week that has been the whole nation has really been following is new developments continue to unfold on the abduction of today's show host Savannah Guthrie's mom. So, she's been missing for about a week now, and our sister station in Arizona has reported that it received a ransom note about 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Other news outlets say the same, where the note allegedly demanded payment in cryptocurrency. And that note is now under investigation by the local sheriff's department in Arizona to determine its legitimacy. Nancy Guthrie was last seen last Saturday night at her Arizona home and was reported missing the following day. And police have said that they believe Guthrie was abducted, saying it's really unlikely that she walked out on her own. And so 48's Noah Cowell, he gave a little bit of a local angle with the story, and he went out to talk to a private investigator and a former FBI agent about abductions and missing person cases, similar to how we have Ronnie Dumas in the Tennessee Valley area who has been missing. And some of these investigators and stuff have worked on that case as well. And so he talked to this former FBI agent and this private investigator, and both of them have said that Nancy Guthrie's abduction may have been done by someone who she's familiar with.
Please help us bring Nancy Guthrie home.
Nancy Guthrie taken from her home early Sunday morning with no trace of her since. Cecil Moses, former FBI agent and Madison police chief, says if the crime scene was properly handled on day one, it shouldn't be long before important evidence on a suspect is revealed.
You cannot walk out of a house and not leave something behind. It may be a hair follicle, maybe something off your clothing, it may be a piece off of your skin drop, but you'll leave something behind. Now, that's just a given. But you need a real good, thorough crime scene crew to do that.
Moses says there's no reason to suspect this is anything other than a kidnap for ransom, but he is worried that with Guthrie's age and heart condition, they need to find her fast.
It doesn't bode well for her survival. So time is really, really critical.
James Andrews, the private investigator working the abduction case of Huntsville realtor Ronald Dumas, says collaboration is a key to solving these crimes.
With Dumas' case and Miss Guthrie's case, it's good that there's so many different investigators involved and so many different agencies involved, because I'm sure they're kicking ideas off of each other constantly and getting different perspectives.
And there have been multiple news conferences since Nancy's disappearance where officers have confirmed that Nancy Guthrie was forcibly taken from her home. The sheriff says they assume she's still alive and possibly being held against her will, but there are no suspects that they have yet or that they have publicly released. And so the sheriff was asked about an Uber driver who drove Guthrie home the night she was last seen, and he says there's no evidence that that driver is involved. And they also mentioned that at some point that night that she went missing, missing, there was movement detected at her camera, but they are not able to see what that movement was. They also saw that the app to her pacemaker was disconnected as well, and they also confirmed that there was a little bit of blood splatter in front of her home, and through DNA testing, they were able to determine that it was Nancy's blood, and her family is now offering a $50,000 award. So we will keep you all updated on the latest as we continue to learn more on this case as it continues to develop. And we have some sad news today. Beloved Huntsville blues legend Microwave Dave has passed away at 80 years old. The Microwave Dave Music Education Foundation announced his passing this morning, and he became an internationally recognized blues guitarist and a pillar of the local music community. And one of his greatest passions was music education. Through his nonprofit foundation, he inspired thousands of students in music, and he played such a great role within the community. As you all know, Huntsville is such a growing music scene, and so he contributed a lot to it, especially providing that music education to younger upcoming artists or children who may be interested in music and the arts. And in 2015, Mayor Tommy Battle, he recognized his legacy by declaring Microwave Dave Day, which is a family-friendly event that brings together the best musicians in North Alabama to raise money for the Microwave Dave Music Education Foundation, and to continue providing the things that they need to for students interested in music education. And so his legacy is going to continue to live on. I remember briefly meeting him when he would visit our station for interviews and to perform, and he was just so amazing, incredibly humble. Like, he has such a great history of just so many amazing things that he has done, and he was always just incredibly humble about all of it. And so he was an amazing person, amazing soul, and I'm very grateful that in the short amount of time that I've lived in Huntsville that I got the opportunity to see him and see him perform and see some of the many great works that he has done. And you can read more about Microwave Dave and just the incredible legacy that he left on WAFF.com. And he was also featured on our digital show 48 Now with my fellow digital host AJ Wiest, and also on our lifestyle show Tennessee Valley Living with Peyton Walker. So if you want to see some of his performances that he did here in the station, or if you want to just see some interviews that he talks a little bit more about his journey with music and how he got into it, you can check out those clips of those performances and interviews as well on our website. And 48's Noah Cowell will also be covering more on Microwave Dave's life during this evening's newscast, so you can check those out as well. And again, his legacy is just going to live on forever through his music and just the inspiration that he has given to others. And to a story you will only see on 48 News, you'll hear exclusively from the woman who helped the victim of a shocking crash. So earlier this week, an SUV went off the road, rolled over, and rolled into a house, trapping the driver underneath the car. 48's Callie Neese got an exclusive interview with that witness who saw the terrifying crash, and she shares more on what happened.
Brenda Lowe was driving home on 251 when all of a sudden, the car in front of her lost control.
They ended up head on into like a culvert or a ditch in front of this yard, and that, I think, hitting that head on just catapulted the vehicle into the air, and it went high into the air, and it flipped several times before landing literally on the front porch of this house.
Just feet away from where William Pugh was sleeping on the couch.
The sound kept going and kept getting louder and getting closer, and then suddenly the whole house shook, and we're like, what the mess was that?
Pugh opened the door to find the SUV on his porch. He called 911, and Lowe stayed by the victim's side to let her know everything was going to be okay. But that's when she realized the victim spoke Spanish.
And nobody around us, nobody there spoke any Spanish.
Without missing a beat, Lowe pulled out her phone to help translate.
As I was squatting down with her shuffling, she reached her hand out to me, and she grabbed my hand, so I just held on to her, and she just squeezed it tight as she could. And once I got Google Translate up, I was able to tell her help was on the way. Everything's going to be okay. Help is on the way.
Todo va a estar bien. La ayuda ya está en camino.
Both Pugh and Lowe tell me the victim is going to be okay.
It doesn't matter if we can speak their language or whatever, we all deserve compassion, especially in a traumatic situation like that. It really just was a good reminder to me that we all bleed the same color blood, and we all deserve to have that compassion shown to us.
Reporting in Ardmore, Callie Neese, 48 News, on your side.
In a 48 News update, the trial for an ex-Decatur police officer charged with murder is being delayed again. Mac Marquette's murder trial will now be on September 21st. He is charged with the murder of Steve Perkins back in September 2023. The trial was originally scheduled for April 2025, but has been pushed back multiple times due to various legal motions. Marquette's attorneys argue that he was acting in self-defense during the murder of Steve Perkins. The state Supreme Court heard oral arguments on the case last week.
Keeps reopening a wound that won't seem to close. You know, we still haven't had any closure. And we've been going so hard for the last 2 years, working on year 3. Hard to put in words how difficult this is, how difficult it can be, and how much we want this to be over with.
And the Alabama State Supreme Court has not issued its ruling yet. And so, in Alabama, lawmakers, they are once again filing a bill to create a statewide lottery. This year's bill would let Alabamians decide if the state should establish a lottery allowing in-person casino games and online sports betting. If passed, the bill would create a licensing commission to regulate gaming. But there is some skepticism that the bill will end up like previous attempts and not pass.
Again, my bill is not specifically about the actual revenue, or is it going to go to the general fund, Medicaid, or to the education trust fund. It is, Alabamians, do you want us to do this?
It was not that we're preventing anything from happening, and it's continuing to grow. It's just that Alabama doesn't benefit from it, but we suffer all the problems of it.
The last time people in Alabama had the opportunity to vote on a state lottery was in 1999. Alabama is just one of 5 states without a lottery. And it's that time of the year where people are waiting to find out, will there be an early spring or a late winter? So many of you might rely on a groundhog to answer that question, but here in North Alabama, we do things a little differently. So our favorite opossum, Sand Mountain Sam, has finally made his big prediction. On Monday, Sand Mountain Sam predicted that it's going to be an early spring. And so celebrating Sand Mountain Sam brings in people from all over to Albertville, and it's grown in popularity since it started in 1993. Chandler Witcher, otherwise known as the Possum Whisperer, says during that time, Sam has only got his prediction wrong once.
A lot of people don't trust possums, but I do, and I have a really good judge of character, so I believe what Sam says to be true always. I think that maybe it was a misunderstanding the one time Sam was wrong.
And so Punxsutawney Phil is one of the most famous groundhogs to predict early spring or a longer winter. And on Monday, Phil, he saw his shadow, so that means he predicts 6 more weeks of winter. But I am definitely rooting for Sand Mountain Sam's prediction to be right with an early spring because, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, the cold weather has been so brutal lately. It's been a little better this week, but before these last 2 weeks was really rough. So I just can't wait for it to get warmer, to have those longer days with more sunlight. So fingers are definitely crossed for that early spring. And all month long, we are celebrating Black History Month here at WAFF and honoring Black history that was created right here in the North Alabama area. And so we covered the story of legendary boxer Muhammad Ali. So he broke major social and racial barriers over his career as a heavyweight champion. And it especially touched a Huntsville woman who would go on to break barriers of her own. So 48's Nick Bellinger has her amazing story to start our special Black History Month series.
Jean Dancy spent her childhood in her West Huntsville home just like many kids would in the 1960s, watching the legendary Muhammad Ali.
I saw Muhammad Ali on TV, and I was totally fascinated.
That fascination quickly turned into a dream.
The fact that he said he was going to do something, and it happened exactly as he said it. I was so fascinated that I asked my mother if she thought I could meet him.
The former Council High student and Butler High School graduate would go on to be an Alabama A&M Bulldog. She used that degree to land a job at The Tonight Show on NBC, which eventually led to her meeting Ali. But the once English major didn't stop there.
I'm in love with boxing, and I meet a man who becomes my husband, and he's a heavyweight boxer.
After marrying the one-time number 4 heavyweight in the world, Marty Monroe, Dancy decided, just like Ali, she wanted to break barriers of her own. She became one of the only female boxing managers in the country.
The biggest challenge truly was that I was a woman. I think they would look at me and assume since she was a model, she doesn't know very much. And I understood the fact that they could not comprehend a woman knowing as much as I knew.
Jabs, hooks, punch after punch, Dancy refused to be knocked down just because of what she looked like.
I knew all of their records, when they'd been knocked out, knocked down, if they trained on time. I knew everything that you could possibly know about them.
Eventually, that childhood hero in Ali would become a friend.
Muhammad Ali, Marty, and I, we all became friends. I was at Muhammad's house having dinner, mind you. And then Muhammad asked me to be a part of his Deer Lake boxing camps. When men were treating me in the crummiest way, Muhammad wasn't. He believed in himself. He believed in all of his dreams.
In the same way that little girl from Huntsville adored Ali for doing exactly what he predicted, so did Dancy.
If it's whatever you want to do, believe it, and believe it every day.
Yes, she has such an amazing story, and Dancy and her husband had one child before he passed nearly 30 years ago, and she now lives with her family in Nevada. Dancy is also promoting her new book titled Muhammad Ali and Me, so look out for more of our WAFF Black History pieces that will air during our newscasts throughout the month. And coming up after the break, we'll take a look at some stories coming up in our evening newscast, and we'll also check out some great events happening in the Huntsville and surrounding areas this weekend. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 48 Recap. Let's check out a story you can look out for coming up in our evening newscast. A man from Huntsville was killed in South Carolina in a plane crash on Friday. The Lexington County coroner identified the person who died in the single-engine plane crash as 30-year-old Andrew Frederick Nichols. Nichols was from Huntsville, and he was a passenger in an aircraft that lost engine power and crashed. Nichols was pronounced dead at the scene. The pilot was transported to an area hospital with critical injuries. The Lexington County Coroner's Office, the NTSB, and the FAA are continuing to investigate the incident. And tune into our evening newscast to hear more details on this story and many others. Also, tomorrow is Super Bowl Sunday, and it will be airing on NBC, which is our network here at WAFF. So you will be able to see the Super Bowl on our channel on TV. And so 48's Carl Prather, Margot Gray, and Brad Travis will all be in tomorrow night after the Super Bowl for the 10 p.m. newscast. So definitely stay tuned once the game is over to see Carl, Margot, and Brad all have that recap Super Bowl newscast. And Carl and 48's Nick Bellinger, they have some really great Super Bowl stories that they've been working on, and those will be airing as well. I know one story is on a player that's from the Tennessee Valley area who will be playing in the Super Bowl, and there's also one on NIL related topics, so don't miss out on that, and definitely stay tuned and check in on our TV channel to see the Super Bowl tomorrow. And of course, as you all know, there are some fun events happening in the Huntsville and surrounding areas this weekend. One of them is the booth at Stovehouse. We'll be having live music tonight at 6:30. It will be a performance by artist Romeo, and it will be just a beautiful performance just in time for the season of love with Valentine's Day coming up. And this event is free and all ages are welcome to attend. And the Black Jacket Symphony presents Pink Floyd's The Wall tonight at 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. at Mark C. Smith Concert Hall. Tickets are available at the VBC box office and online at Ticketmaster.com. Also happening tonight at the VBC is the 35th annual Dog Ball to support the Greater Huntsville Humane Society. And this is a time where you can greet and pet very important dogs. There will be a dinner, a live and silent auction, the Dog Ball Boutique, and more. The Dog Ball is the largest annual fundraiser for the Greater Huntsville Humane Society, and it is an amazing and enjoyable event that benefits the animal shelter by just helping to defray expenses that are incurred while providing care to those animals that are in need. And so tickets and sponsorship information are available online at thedogball.org. And it's just going to be such a great time and snuggling up with those great animals and helping out with the great cause. And tomorrow is Super Bowl Sunday, as I mentioned, and so there will be plenty of places around the valley where you can go to watch it on the big screen if you don't want to watch it at home. And so Field Day, they're actually going to have it playing on their big screens, both inside and outside. They'll be having game day specials starting at 5 p.m. They're going to have $1 wings, 25% off drafts, and $2 off specialty cocktails. So there will be plenty of fun things to do there. They're also going to be having free mega football squares, so the first 100 guests can pick a square, and there will be a $25 winner at halftime that they'll announce, and then also a $50 winner during the final game. So this sounds like a great time, a great event if you're just looking for somewhere fun to go to during the Super Bowl and enjoying it. Field Day is definitely a great option, but I know there's going to be plenty of other, restaurants and places as well to go to if, it gets too crowded or if you want something a little more low key. So definitely go out, enjoy that. There's so many great events to check out this weekend, and it's a great time just to find somewhere to just really enjoy the Super Bowl and the Winter Olympics as well. And anytime throughout the week, if you're looking for a fun, good event to go to, you can always check out Huntsville.org's event tab and WeAreHuntsville.com's event calendar to see more events that will be happening in the area. That's all I have today for the 48 recap. Thank you all for tuning in. I see your comment, Miss Roberta. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I know you always tune in for AJ Weiss's Before the Four and our weather extras as well. So thank you. And thank you all for tuning in and just getting a little recap of the week and our top stories. Don't forget to tune into our 48's weather extra segments. Our meteorologists, they go live every Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday and Sunday at 8:15 and 4:30. And forecaster Jada Russell, she will be joining you all in just a little bit for another edition of Weather Extra. So be sure to tune in, and she's just going to be talking a little bit more about those temperatures finally warming up just a little bit and what you can expect for the weather for your week ahead. So tune in if you can. And again, our Weather Extra segments are just another way to give you all extra insights on the latest weather forecast. Also, make sure to download our 48 apps and follow us on our Facebook and YouTube channel so you don't miss any updates on the news and the weather. And if you would like to stay connected with me throughout the week, please be sure to follow my Facebook page at Tatyana White, WAFF 48. I would love to connect with you all. If you have any story ideas or if you just want to reach out to chat, feel free to reach out to Tatyana White, WAFF 48. Take care, everyone, and stay safe this Super Bowl weekend. I hope you all have a great Sunday and a great Saturday, and I will see you all back here next week. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend.